Hey guys, and welcome back to another Java programming tutorial. So in today's video, we're going to be going over inheritance. So this has to do with classes, and this is going to be how we can inherit methods and attributes of previously made classes into like a new class, and then override methods and all kinds of fun stuff. This is really important. This will save you a ton of time. And yeah, so let's get started. So you can see here I have this, this dog class that we created in the last video. And pretty much the goal, what I want to do at least in this video, or the problem is, I want to create a cat class that is identical to this dog class, except in this speak method here, instead of saying I am whatever, I just wanted to say meow, my name is whatever, right? So I just want to change one of these methods to do something different, but other than that, I want all of this to be the same. So intuitively, what we think we do is, well, we just take all this, copy it, put it into a new file called cat, and then just change this to be what we want. Well, we could do that, and that'd be fine. But when we have classes that are like thousands and thousands of lines long, ideally, we don't want to be repeating code and continually typing like the same thing a bunch of times, right? It also just makes it more difficult to read. So what we're going to do is we're going to use something called inheritance. So I'm going to create a new class. I'm going to go new class. And in this case, I'm going to call mine cat, all right? And I'll just click finish like that. And in here, we have public class cat. Now, whenever we do this inheritance, what we can actually do to inherit all of the properties, all of the methods, everything from this dog class is up here. When we define the class, we can type extends, if we spell it correctly, extends, and then the class dog, like this, okay? Now, what this is going to do is it is going to grab everything from dog class and apply it to cat class. So this is known as our super class because it's kind of above the cat class. And then cat is known as our subclass. So we have, you can also call it a child class or a derived class, and this could be also called a parent class, all right? And that's because it's kind of underneath, it's getting everything from there, but then it's going to be changing a few things and maybe adding a few methods to it. So typically you start off like the most abstract with a parent class, and then your child classes or your derived classes or your subclasses, because they're all the exact same thing, just everyone likes to use different words for them, are going to have some slight modifications to them and kind of work based off of that superclass, right? So, or the parent class, okay? So what we need to do when we first do this is, you can see here it already is telling us we need to use the constructor for dog. So we're inheriting from dog, but we need to use the same constructor. Otherwise, all this stuff and all these attributes, well, they're not going to work unless we set up our class when we first create it the same way as we did dog. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to click on this, and you can see it automatically generates this constructor for us. Now I could have typed it out, but this is this is what it's going to do. So since in our dog class, we get name and we get age, we need to make sure that we have a constructor inside of our cat class that gets name and gets an age, and we have to actually explicitly call our superclass constructor, which is going to be the dog constructor, using this formation or this syntax, super, and then we give it the name and we give it the age. Now, this doesn't stop us from being able to type in other properties or other attributes. So for example, I could do something like int and, I don't know, food or something. It's like how much food they should get. And this works perfectly fine. And we can go ahead and we can create another attribute here. So we say private, I don't know, let's just say food, okay? And this should say int food. And then down here, we can go ahead and we can just type this dot food equals food, okay, right? And that works perfectly fine. And now we're going to have, since we're inheriting from this, we're going to have age, we're going to have name, and inside of this cat class, we are going to have food as well. And that works just fine, okay? So just to, I don't know, let's go over this again because I think I've kind of gone through it pretty quickly, but all of these methods here, we're going to be able to use within our cat class because, well, we're inheriting, we're grabbing all of them from the dog class. So this cat class, when we first extend it and do nothing, is identical to the dog class. And then as soon as we start changing a few things in here, it's going to become a little bit different, but still use all of this functionality. So we still have the attribute age, the attribute name. We're setting them equal because we're going to call this constructor method, right, from our what do you call it, super right here. So we call this constructor, so we set up age and we set up name, and then we have speak, we have get age, and we have set age. Now before I move any further, let me just prove this to you. So if I go to main here and I just create a cat object, so I'll just say cat tim equals new cat, and remember we have to give it 3 parameters or 3 arguments this time because that's what we typed in. So for name, we're gonna obviously do tim, age we'll do 18, and food, let's say they get 100, I don't know, grams of food or something, whatever you want to say there, okay? Now I can use this speak method on Tim. So you see, we're getting no errors here, even though in my cat class, there's no speak method, but since there's one in dog and we inherit from it, we can use it. So I'll prove again to you. Run this. I am Tim and I am 18 years old, and that works perfectly fine. So now remember I said though, I want this speak method to do something else. I want to change it. So how can we do that within the cat class? Well, the way to do this is to just rewrite the method in here, because when we do that, we're simply going to overwrite whatever's in the dog class. So the child class or the subclass, whatever you want to call it, whenever there's something the same in here, it automatically is going to override or overwrite whatever's in the dog class. So if I do public void speak, okay, so this is the exact same name as the other one. All right, and in here, I change, I do something, right? So I change something. So I'm just going to say system.out.println. And in here, what did I want to say? Like meow. And my name is, I'll just say plus this dot name. And you know what? We'll even add like a little food thing. And I get fed, I don't know, let's see here. Plus this dot food. Okay, I don't know. That's good enough for me. What's the issue here? Change visibility of name to protected. Oh, okay, 1 second. I gotta do something here. Cat. This just needs to be, sorry, public and public. Sorry, this is just because we're not actually able to see these attributes because they're defined in the dog class from within our cat class. So we just need to change them to public so that we're actually going to be able to use them within our speak method. We can also use something called protected, which I'm going to talk about near the end of this video. Okay, so right now we'll just use public because I don't want to get into protected, but let's see what happens now if I run my tim.speak. Now we can say meow, my name is Tim, and I get fed 100. Okay. And that's because even though in the dog class we had speak, since we wrote it again in our cat class, and cat class is the one that we're using, we're simply going to take this one and we're going to override the one in our dog class. Okay. Now, obviously, when we're doing inheritance, you've already seen we can add our own methods. We can add more stuff and we can do whatever we want, right? So in here, I can add more methods. I can say public void, I don't know, eat. And in this case, we'll just have like int, I don't know, x, like as how much they're eating. And we can say this dot food minus equals x, okay? And just subtract from it however much they ate. And then we can use eat in the cat class, but it's not going to be seen in the dog class, right? So we just have to understand that this does go one way. All the stuff we do in the cat class is not going to be visible to stuff in dog class because, well, dog does not extend cat, right? So it's kind of a hierarchy where like dog's at the top and then cat branches off, and we could have other things extend the dog class as well. We could have something extend the cat class, and we could just keep going and going and going and extending and extending and extending, also known as like inheriting, right? So that's kind of it for inheritance. Now I want to show something called multiple constructors, okay? So there is sometimes when we're setting up a class, we want to be able to pass it like a different piece of information and set up the class differently, right? So for example, my cat class here gives name, age, and food. What if, however, I only wanted to give it name and age? Well, we can leave both options available. They don't have to be mutually exclusive, right? I could give it either these three arguments to set it up, or I could give it just two. And to do this, we have to create another constructor. So I'm going to do the exact same thing as above, pretty well identical, except I'm just going to leave out one of the parameters here, okay? So we'll say int age. And then here we'll simply call super and name and age, okay? And you can see no red lines, everything looks fine. And what we're essentially doing here is we're giving it another way to set up the cat class, another way to construct all of our attributes and set up the cat class. So we can either call the cat class using 3 parameters or 3 arguments, or we can call it using 2. And you know what? Maybe we could set one up only using 1 or only using 0. So let's do one with 1 just to show you how this might work. Okay, so if I do string name and then int age, okay. And then here I call super. Oh, sorry, I should actually get rid of this because we're only going to use 1, right? My bad. I'm going to give name, but what about age? What am I giving super for our age? Well, I don't know. How are we going to set it up if they only give us 1 argument? Well, I would think that if they don't give us an age, then we should just automatically assume that their age is 0. So let's do that. I'm going to put in 0, just hard code that in here. So that way, this means now, say for example, they only want to give us a name. then we'll just automatically give them an age of 0. If they want to give us a name and an age, that's fine, we can do that. But maybe what we should do in here, if they give us a name and an age, is we should make sure that food is set equal to, I don't know, maybe let's give it a default value of 50. So if they don't define how much food the cat eats, we're just going to assume that they eat 50, okay? And this is kind of a way you can do, like, it's known as like default parameters. If they don't type something in, just automatically set a value for that so that everything still works fine. I hope that makes sense. So let's show now the 3 different ways that we can create a cat. Say cat Bob equals new cat. And in this case, we'll give it a name. So we'll say Bob, and we'll give it an age of 7. And no red lines, this works fine. Again, this defines a cat, right? Because that's another constructor that we had. So let's do this one more time. And in this case, let's just only type in a name. We're gonna name this one Joe. I like the name Joe, all right? And there we are. So now we could obviously do like bob.speak, and we could do joe.speak. And these are the 3 ways that we have that we can define a cat, okay? So meow, my name is Joe, I get fed 0. Bob, I get fed 50. Right, we can go on like that. So again, when we have 1, now we just see a quick error that maybe we want to fix. We should probably give them food as well. So we say this.food equals 50, okay? As like our default value for how much they get fed. So that is a way that you can do multiple constructors. And now I'm going to talk about protected values. So protected values are something that we can use similar to private and public, but they just act a bit differently. So pretty much if you use the protected keyword instead of public when you're defining things. So for example, here in my dog class, I'm going to go up and change public to protected. This means that only things that are within the same package or are subclasses of the class can have access to this, pretty much like name. Okay, so that means any of these files or any of these classes within this package are able to see this. But if I had another package, which you typically do if you have large Java programs, anything in there would not be able to see this, okay? So whenever we're using, whenever we're creating like a main class or a parent class, protected, wow, okay. We're gonna wanna use the protected keyword at least for, our attributes, so that we can change them and access them from within the subclass, all right? Now for these methods, it's fine, they're public anyways, right? So we can make these protected as well if we didn't want another package to be able to access them. Now, if we create private methods, right? If we create a private method here, I'm actually gonna try this because I don't remember if this is gonna allow us to use this now out here. So let's say like Tim dot, I don't even know which one I changed, get age, okay? Say Tim dot get age, say int x equals, let's see if this is gonna work. Yeah, so again, this is not gonna allow us to use this because, well, we made it private, right? If we made that protected, it would allow us to use it here, but not outside of the package. Now, I wanna try this though and see if I can use this get age from within our cat class. So if I do, for example, when I wanna speak, I'll say this dot get age, and yeah, so this isn't working as well, which means that, again, if we want to use those methods, we have to make sure they're either public or protected rather than private, okay? The only time you're really going to create private methods is if within the class is the only area you're using the method. So for example, maybe you're doing like a math calculation and you only do that from within the class and you don't want anyone outside of the class to be able to do that, then you create a private method to do that because you could do that from within the class, right? So anyways, I think I am probably going to end it here. In the next video, we're going to be talking more about classes, doing some more advanced stuff, and then in the future, we're going to get into like interfaces and some other cool Java stuff. So again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to join my Discord server or leave a comment down below. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, please make sure you leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you again.